can remember him saying, that it was really a nice play, and he was glad that the deer had a part in it. But I remember when we started to brand, we just begged Dad to let us castrate him, and he wouldn't do it. And as a kid, I was upset.
Wait, why'd you want your dad to castrate?
So he'd stay home. It's just like a dog. You take a dog, and if you've got a male dog, and you don't want that dog to go, I call it tramping all over the countryside, you castrate him. We knew that if Dad had let us castrate him, we would have had him forever. But no, so he wouldn't let us castrate him.
Over the next year, Bambi grew up, developed antlers. Connie and her sisters like to touch the velvet on his antlers, she said. And Bambi started acting differently. Sometimes he'd just wander away for days. And when hunting season rolled around, girls begged their dad to lock up Bambi somewhere on the property. But their dad said, no, that wasn't right. And they didn't ask twice, she says. Fortunately, because it was a small town, and especially after the Christmas play, everybody in the valley road knew about Bambi. People just taking it down sometimes in the car. People would come up to them on the street and pet him. And they took special precautions during hunting season, so everybody would recognize him.
We had a big red scarf on him, and then we had a sheep bell, which is just a little smaller than a cow bell, and we'd painted this sheep bell red. And then, of course, when fall come, late fall, he took off, and about 10 miles away, some guy, I guess they said, I never did ever talk to the guy, but they said he drove right up to him and shot him.
Oh, you didn't even run away?
Oh, no. Because he was desensitized, he wasn't afraid of people.
When the deer was killed, what did your dad say?
Just told us that that's the way it was, and that's what we got for bringing him home. He told us then, he said, that's what happens when you mess with Mother Nature. So I guess, if there's a moral to the story, is you don't mess with something that's wild. You just leave it be.
Oh, really? Do you think your dad was right?
I think he was right. At the time I didn't, but looking back on it now, I'm still pissed at that guy that shot him.
Because you're sure that he knew him?
Oh, sure he did. He'd had to have known. Well, in fact, I heard that he did, that he knew. I hope he enjoyed eating him. The son of a bitch. You better edit that out.
No, I like to leave that in. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
I just don't understand how he could shoot him knowing that he was your pet. Like, he knew you guys, right?
Yeah. And I'm thinking back, I would imagine he'd probably, 19 years old? Smart-ass teenager's what he was. I can remember we cried, Mother cried, and Dad was pissed. He thought that was pretty low for somebody to do that to an animal, especially when he knew that it was ours.
Did you blame yourselves?
Yes, I did. Yeah. The end result would have probably been the same, but he probably would have lived. He'd have probably got another year or two, before he'd got shot.
You mean if you left him with his mom?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's funny, I thought we were going to have a sweet little sentimental Christmas story here, but now I feel so sad.
Well, yeah, it did end up sad. And if I was you and you was doing the story, I think maybe I'd kind of take a little liberty with it and not burden kids with what happened to them.
Really, how would you want it to end?
Oh, like it was just a really nice play.
And not tell anything that happens afterwards.
Yeah.
But then if you do that version of the story, then in the argument between you guys and your dad, you win. Because everything works out happily ever after.
Well, I think at Christmas time maybe we should win.
All right, well let's do take two. So after the play, what happened to the deer?
Oh, we took him home. The play was always put on Christmas Eve. So we went home. Because it would have been like 10 o'clock, and of course Santa Claus was going to come, and we was all excited.
And so in this version of the story, you guys live happily ever after, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then I vividly remember the next morning after we asked if we could bring him in, and Mother and Dad both said yes. So we put a lot of Christmas bows on him, and we let him stay in the house until he wandered into Mother's plants, and then he had to go out.